Hello, this is Story Behind the Story with Reese Ryan, and today we're talking about small town romance. So you're welcome to join us for this interactive author discussion. I'm your host, Reese Ryan, author of sexy, emotional, grown folks romantic fiction featuring family drama and characters over 30 finding love while navigating career crisis and family drama. And today, like I said, we're talking about small town romance. Small town romance has always been like a perennial kind of favorite among romance readers. And while it's a trope it has often been seen as sort of a homogenous trope, you mostly think of it as, there's kind of the mostly white small town. We've seen it like that for years. But over the years, recently, we have been seeing a lot more diversity in small town romance, and not just culturally, but also we're seeing some changes in the heat level, because that also might be something that you think is synonymous with small town romance, is that it's sweet or closed door love scenes. And so we're starting to see some variances. So there's all kind of flavors now of small town romance. And so we're going to be talking about them, and we're going to be talking to some authors who write various styles of small town romance as well as at various heat levels. And if you have never really thought of yourself as a small town romance person, maybe you just haven't found the right flavor. And so today we're going to meet our guest that includes Chilove, Sheryl Lister, Annie Rains, and Nan Reinhardt. So we're going to talk to those authors, learn more about them and their backlist. And we'll also be recommending authors to you in that small town romance genre. So thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to talking about that today. And if you are joining us live, thank you for being here. If you're out doing your shopping, because this is Thanksgiving week in America, and so people are starting to do a lot of shopping and all of that, and you catch us on replay, we appreciate you. So thank you so much for being here. And whether you are first time here or new, be sure to like, subscribe, and share the show so that other readers will find it as well. And if you're watching from Facebook, be sure, if you want to be a part of the conversation, make sure that you scroll down all the way to the bottom of the description, and you'll see a link where you can give StreamYard permission to see your name and avatar on Facebook, so that we'll know who we're talking to or who the comments are coming from when we see your comments. So if you have come here from my newsletter or you're subscribed to my newsletter, that issue dropped just moments ago, and it contains bonus content from the Men for Hire series. It is the collaboration that I've done with Sharon C. Cooper and Delaney Diamond. Mine is called Date for Hire, and the others are Fiance for Hire and Boyfriend for Hire. We've got a lot of feedback from readers who wanted to see more in that world. And so we, for now, at least we've written bonus scenes, holiday themed bonus content. So in my newsletter that came out today, you will see links for all three of them. You can actually start reading my bonus epilogue with Jet and Amaya in the newsletter. And then there's a link where you can go and finish reading the rest of it. So definitely check that out after the show. And then also in that same newsletter, you're going to find lots of other goodies, ARC opportunities, news about some other things, as well as a street team that I am starting in 2024. As many of you know who've been here before, I'm definitely going to be doing more indie projects in 2024 and beyond. And so I am starting a street team. So lots of goodies involved in that. So definitely check that out in the newsletter as well. And if you are looking for, as we start to talk to our guests, you'll look, we're going to refer to different books of theirs as well as books that we're recommending. There's going to be a link to that in the bio or in the description of the show as well. So let me see. I think that covers just about everything. So now on to tonight's show. Let's welcome our guest to the show today. And so I'm going to just go in the order of where everybody is. Annie Rains, Nan Reinhardt, Chilove. You got back just in time. Sheryl Lister. Hey, how are you? So it's great to have you all here, and a couple of you have been here before. Chilove and Sheryl Lister, y'all have been here, guests on the show before. Cheryl's been on a couple of times
Oh
already.
yeah, we hang out
So
often.
yes, for sure. So thank y'all so much for joining us for this discussion on small town romance, all the flavors of small town romance. So let's start with um, introductions. And I don't like to do bios. And so I am going to just let each of you kind of introduce yourselves to us. So let's start with, I brought on Annie first. So, Annie, tell us a little bit about you and what you write.
Well, hi. Thanks for having me. I'm Annie Rains. I write small town. I mostly contemporary romance, but I have started writing small town women's fiction. And last year, I also put out a small town young adult novel for the first time. So I'm all about the small towns. It's what links all of my genre hopping together. I have 3 kids. I still have a day job, so I work during the day and I write way in the early morning hours and sometimes in the evenings as well. And I have a rescue dog and a rescue cat, and that's pretty much me.
I love it. And did you say that you live in a small town?
And I live in a small town. I'm all about small towns.
Annie is not like, we're not in this local, but she's close enough that we have definitely got a chance to see each other in person several times, and we've done events and things like that together. And so yeah, but so that's nice. And Nan, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you write.
My name is Nan Reinhardt, and I write sweet, a little sensual, small town romance for Thule Publishing. I have 10 books in the River's Edge series. Well, there's 3 series, but River's Edge is the little town, the setting. I live in the city. I grew up in the big city. And so small towns have always had a real fascination for me. I have a son and a grandson and a daughter-in-law and a husband I've been married to for 50 years this year.
Yay, congrats.
Wow.
That's
Oh, yes.
awesome.
We split our time between our house in the city and a lake cottage that is in a small town. So I do have a little bit of small town in me, but mostly I'm city who wishes she was small town.
I love it. I love it. And next, Chilove, tell us a little bit about you and what you write.
All right. Well, good evening, and thanks for having me here. So, I'm Cecia Love. I usually write sizzling Southern romances. I am a Southern girl born and raised in the Sunshine State. I do not live in a small town, but I frequent one because my parents still live there. I have 2 children, a husband, a dog named Albus that really shows my Harry Potter fandom. And just excited to be here tonight with all of you and talk about small towns.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. And last but not least, Sheryl Lister, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you write.
Hi, I'm Sheryl Lister. Thank you so much for having me again. You know, I love chatting with you. I write sweet, sensual, contemporary romance, romantic suspense, and going to be dabbling, just kind of rolling myself right into women's fiction coming up soon. Um, Small town, yeah, no. I have one series that I'm writing right now that's small town, and then I have an indie project that I did that was small town. So my very first one was my own indie project was a small town. But I know I'm not from, like, I don't live in the small town. I live in the capital of California, so no small town anywhere. Small town vibes. So
Yeah. And that's the thing about us, like, as writers, hey, we write about adventures on the moon, right? And
Yeah.
historical and stuff. So we can definitely reach
Exactly.
in and research, and not to mention, thank goodness for, the interwebs. You can learn anything. With There's even cameras in a lot of small towns or little like beach towns and stuff where you can like see real time the beach
Yep.
and what's there. So
hmm
that's pretty cool.
hmm
Agreed.
So, taking just a quick moment to say hello to some folks. Lisa Marshall, hey, so good to see you. So, I finally caught you live. I'm glad you did. Dolores says, hi, ladies.
Hi.
Hi.
Veronica
Hey,
Lockett, good to see you
Veronica.
again. Veronica says, good evening. And
Good evening.
Pamela says, hello,
Pamela.
everyone. So, y'all know this is an interactive show. So, if y'all have questions, comments, whatever, recommendations when we get to that part of the show, absolutely we want you to drop it in there. We want to hear from you. So definitely you are welcome to do that. So my next question for all of you, and I'm going to try to go in reverse this time, is when did you get your first taste of small town romance and what attracted you to writing it? And I'll start with you this time, Sheryl.
Let's see. Ooh, what did I do? I don't know. I think I can't remember whose book I was reading. That was a small town. And I was thinking, hey, I kind of like the fact that you could create your own little world.
Yes.
You didn't have to do anything. And I liked that it was small enough that you could have, I love the shenanigans. Let's just be real. I love the nosy neighbor. Everybody's in your business, kind of thing, because it's so hilarious that they get in there and they're in your business. So I think that was kind of one of the things that drew me to it, as well as the sense of community, which is not always present in big towns, because you can go for weeks and don't see anybody, don't know them, that you have no clue what's going on with somebody. But, before the sun sets, if somebody had to kiss somebody outside, everybody in the town knows.
Yes. All those things. Love all those things about small town. Mm-hmm. And you, Cishela, when did you get your first taste of small town romance, and what attracted you to writing your own?
So I will say, I have a mother who visits me every Christmas, and she cuts that darn Hallmark channel on, and it's small town, 24 hours. Everybody is like, you can't find anything else. And then you get sucked into it, right? And you love the whole small town at the end. And so, usually I will write contemporary, but it's very spicy, suspense or paranormal. And so I said, I think I want to give this a try, because I like the whole setting. It's small. I'm from a small town. I love drama. I love gossip. And spoke to my agent. She's like, I think you should try this. This would be a good fit for you, Southern or whatever. And I tried it, and I absolutely love it. I love it because it's just one of those things where it's so natural. Small towns are, you do know the people who are the teachers in your church, at the bakery, and in being able to write a story like that, where you can touch and feel and even sometimes sense, just all the elements, it just really drew me in. So I got my taste because she liked the Hallmark channel, and then I just kind of went on from there with it.
I love that. And you, Nan, when did you get your first taste of small town romance, and what attracted you to writing it?
I think my very first taste of small town romance was when my mother, when I was a kid, she read to us from an Indiana author named Jean Stratton Porter, who wrote small town romance. And I just loved the whole, as the others have said, the sense of community. And so my first series was an indie project, and it took place in a small town in Michigan, because I'm crazy about Michigan. And when Thule asked me if I wanted to write a series for them, I said, if I can make a winery in a small town, I'm there. And they said, sure. So River's Edge, Indiana was born, and I love writing there. It's just, setting is almost its own character. So it's so much fun.
Yes, that's important in small town for sure. And Annie, what drew you to small town, and when was your first taste of small town, and what drew you to writing it?
Well, we watched a lot of Hallmark when I was growing up too, but I cut my teeth on soap operas. So I started watching soap operas in kindergarten because my grandma and my mom watched them, and my sister watched them. So I remember getting off the bus from kindergarten and like running in to watch my soap opera, and they were all small towns. So like you would go and everything would be like, there's one restaurant in the town, and there's one bar, and there's one of everything. And it's kind of like, you don't have any scenes where no one's not bumping into each other or like gossiping or, walking in on a kiss. So it was really addictive, and that's honestly like where my love for romance came from. But then, there was also my grandmother read Harlequin when I was growing up, so she'd have like a basket full of Harlequin novels just overflowing. And so those were really the first books that I reached for that were romance that I fell in love with.
You know what? It's so funny because, like, have these conversations about, small town romance and stuff all the time. You're the first person who ever mentioned soap operas, but you're right. They're always in a small town, right? And there is that kind of is one this and it's one. I never ever thought about that.
I loved my soap operas. I'm just getting off of them in the last decade, but I was hooked.
I will definitely was when my son was little. Yeah, for sure. Wow. Okay, so more people. Hello, Diane. Thank you so much for joining us. She says, I love small town romances and suspense, and I love those Hallmark holiday movies. And if you love, for anybody who loves the Hallmark holiday movies or any of the holiday movies, side thought, you have to follow Carolyn Hector Hall because she has it down to a science. Like she maps out all the holiday movies on all the channels, and she'll post something where it shares all of them. So if you're a person who watches, you definitely need to follow her because that and the fact that she does those awesome reenactments of book covers with Barbies. So
yes.
And she was doing that before Barbie came out. So yeah. So definitely.
And I think she has her list already up, though.
Yes,
I think I saw that list a few weeks ago.
So if you're in my reader group, I definitely shared it there. Marilyn Orris says hello, all.
Hello, Marilyn.
And also says I love Hallmark because and I'll say at first I didn't. At first I was like, I don't want to watch this corny Hallmark. And then, like you said, once you start watching it, you're totally sucked in. For Dolores Lee says I watched 17 Hallmark Christmas movies so far. Wow.
I'm all in. That's being all in. Dolores is all in.
I am impressed.
Yes.
And Pamela says, me, Hallmark movies are the best. I totally agree with that. So let me see. And next, let me see. Oh, yes. Marilyn says, love soaps. Yes. Yep, that whole small town vibe for sure. And Diane says to Andy that I also grew up on soaps.
I think we all did. We had moms and grandmas who watched those. I had a godmother who did the same thing. She used to make have me in the summer because she was a teacher, and when she was teaching summer school, I had to watch her soap opera. One of them I never watched to begin with for her. And you're right. And Young and the Restless, it is in a small town too, isn't it?
Genoa City. Yes, it is.
Yes, that's right. That was my thing. CBS. All the
no
CBS shows.
I was the DVR.
Right.
That's right. And then Shamika says, hi, happy to be here. And this is a Sheryl Lister Stan account. And I just came from watching a Hallmark movie.
Just came from watching what?
I love it. Yeah, and Diane says, I love Carolyn's Barbie setups. Yep.
Yeah, they're amazing. Amazing.
And then she asked if I can drop her link. I will look to see if I can. Look, I cannot do multiple things at the same time. So if I can find her link while we're here, I will definitely do that. If not, I'll make sure I share it on Facebook or something so you can see Carolyn's links because she definitely has all of that. And she's also on Instagram too. Mm-hmm. So, but I'll definitely try to work on that. Yeah, who didn't love Victor? And she said, I got on yeah, because that's right, all the nighttime shows, right? And then we got a fan of Adam on Y&R, so on Young and the Restless. So, okay, so the next question. So somebody had mentioned that, I think it was Nan saying, did you like that you found that you could just make this stuff up, right? And that's what I love about now, like finding or making a fictional place where I can create everything from scratch myself. So nobody is calling me and saying that deli has not been there for 10 years. So I can just make my own stuff up. So how do you all choose your town names and your locations? Nan, I'm going to start with you. How do you choose your town names and then where you locate your town?
Well, River's Edge is based on a real town in Indiana called Madison. And I've been in love with Madison from the first moment I ever went down there, which is when I think I was in high school. They have a regatta on the river, and it's a huge event in the town. And it's just such a sweet, small town. And so I just based it on that town in Indiana, and I couldn't name it Madison. So I thought, well, it's on the edge of the river. We'll name it River's Edge. And that's really boring, but that's how I came up with the name.
I love it. And so, and you said, so you based it on that. And then what made you pick that particular location?
I wanted it on the water. That was my main thing, was that it be on the water. And I had started with the concept of having a winery, and only other place I could think of to put a winery was California on the water, maybe Sonoma or someplace like that. But so many books are written about wineries in California, so I just asked my publisher, Jane Porter, who is amazing, and I said, "What do you think? Could we do it in Indiana?" And she's like, "Sure." So we did, and it was. I've learned so much about winemaking in Indiana since I've been writing this series of books. It's fascinating. I've learned so much about a lot of things, but especially about wine and wineries. It's been really cool. So.
Yeah, that's one of the fun things about writing, right? It's like it's a blessing and a curse. Like, so there, write about a wine series or winery series. Like there's a bourbon series, so you learn all this cool stuff, which is super fun. But sometimes I'm like, my God, why did I pick this complicated, thing to learn about, to have to write about?
Yes.
Yeah. So,
Google.
okay, so next, let's go with C. Chilove. How do you pick your town name and location?
Well, cool. So I actually like real places. And I just kind of reimagine it in my own vision. And so even in my latest release, at Lakeside Reunion, I chose Mount Dora, Florida, which is it is a small town in north central Florida. I chose that town because it's a very popular town, and it just had all the elements. And when you look at it, it looks like one of those places that you see on the Hallmark Channel. And so I just wanted something in Florida that was small, that reminds people that they're not in Florida. Mount Dora has a nickname as a New England of the South. And so I typically like places that are real. And I just reimagine it. And I may put new places there, new shops, a church, a street. But there is some historical element about the town.
I like that. All right. And Sheryl, how do you pick your town names and locations?
Let's see. On honest tip, my contracted one, I didn't pick the name.
Okay.
And I'm going to be very honest and say that it was not my first choice, my second choice, my third choice.
That happens. That definitely happens.
So we're going to leave it right there.
That definitely happens.
I didn't pick the name. It wasn't, I was like, no, oh my gosh. That's how it was. For my indie project, I don't know how I picked the name. I just like the name Blackmont. It just kind of spoke to me. You know how you just go through and you start mixing up things, and you just do your own. And the hard part is trying to make your own fictitious town. Is you think you're making up words and you go and check them, and they're like, "Are you kidding me? There's actually a town name. Yep. Are you really kidding me?" So yeah, that's how I did that. And for the locations, both of them are in California, but my Blackmont series is in Southern California, and I have it about an hour away from San Diego. So it's nestled in, lakes and mountains and kind of things. I still love that part of it, the lakes and the mountain. Well, the flip side, my supper club series that I'm doing now is actually in Northern California, about a half an hour away from Napa. So we're a little bit closer to Napa. So we still have, you can still get to, what they call it, getting into the big city when you need to for those little moments, but still have the small town flavor.
Yeah. And
I'm a California girl, so that's probably why they're in California.
In real life, that's my motto too. I like to be a little bit removed from the city, but where I can, it's a short drive.
Where I can access it when I need to.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't want to be out in the boonies. Okay.
Exactly.
Yes. So Annie, how do you pick your town name and location?
Well, the name, I'm kind of like Sheryl. I'll come up with a list of possible town names, and then my publisher ultimately is the one that picks it. But I'm one for collecting names. So I have a file in my phone, and if I see a pretty word, I'm like, oh, that's so romantic, and I'll put it on my list, like seagull, or I'll be driving and I'll see like a street name, and I'm like, ooh, that's a, and I'm collecting all these like words. And so when it's time for town names, I start like clumping them together, and I make a long list. But ultimately it's my publisher. And for the town, I kind of do the same thing. I have a fictional town, and I kind of take all my favorite elements of different towns that I go to, and I kind of mix them in a blender and make my ideal town. One that I would want to go into and that feels like home, because I am surrounded by small towns where I live.
I as far as the picking the names, I know for me, Holly Grove Island, for instance, my neck the Springs. And so that's where I got the Holly part from, and then it kind of went from there. So I guess I'm fortunate that all of my towns so far I came up with a town name. Now, when you talk book titles, that's a whole different story, because usually there's the choice is somebody else and whatever. And so the naming convention for the Holly Grove Island series is like they're using a street name and stuff. So yeah, but yes. So far, fortunately, I've been able to pick town, and I usually pick the town like I'm in North Carolina, so most of the towns I write are in North Carolina. The notable exception being the Bourbon Brothers, which is in Tennessee, because
love that series.
Thank you, because they drink whiskey, and so I put them in Tennessee, and I chose Tennessee instead of Kentucky for a bourbon, because my family's from Tennessee, not from that area, but from Memphis. And when I was a kid, we always took an 18-hour drive from Cleveland all the way to Memphis, Tennessee, and to Coldwater, Mississippi, where my mother grew up, and I would spend time in the summer. So those kind of things are things I look at. But I do like the idea of like being able to start from scratch and just kind of build your town and your names and stuff. There's some great reader questions. Some of them are related to our discussions we're going to have later on, so I'm going to come back to them. So if you ask a great question, I might have bookmarked it for us to come back to in a moment. So my next question is, what signature ingredients create your unique flavor of small town romance? So let me see. Sheryl, let's go with you. What signature ingredients would you say create your unique flavor of small town romance? Because I feel like because we are seeing a growth of small town, it's not just the same kind of homogenous small towns, or it's just got to be New England or whatever. Yeah. There's so much more variety. So what are some key ingredients that are in your small town romances?
Let's see. Key ingredients in mine are going to be sisterhood, friendship, family, sense of community, and there's got to be wine. So
I love it. And I love that you
gotta have you know what I'm saying? You got to have the shenanigans. You got to have town shenanigans. Those are a must.
Absolutely. Okay. I love it. And Annie, how about you?
Well, I'm all about the friendship too. And most of my books have dogs. And, that started out as a publisher thing where they wanted the dog. And so now there's a dog, like 10 books later, there's still dogs. So friendship, dogs, community. Since I work with kids in my day job, there's always a kid somewhere, especially I work with special needs, so I really like to include different abilities in my books. Me and you are both occupational therapists.
Yes, I forgot.
Yes. Me and Sheryl have the same day. Well, I don't know.
I can't do mine anymore.
Okay.
Yes.
Nice. Wow.
So it's important to me to have those kids, and if special needs or a disability or an illness, I like to shine a light on that because it is something that I work with. Yeah.
Okay. So, and Nan, next, what signature ingredients create your unique flavor of small town romance?
Well, like Sheryl, wine, but also family and friends as well. I have a diner that's in every book, and the guy who runs the diner is a big secondary character. And secondary characters are really big in my books. You meet these people, and then you see them again and again and again in books, and you almost feel like you know them, that they're old friends, and they all play a part in every story, which is a lot of fun to create. And I just think, as I said before, the town is so much a character in the books. So the river, and there's a river walk, and that's a big thing in the town. People go to the river walk, and I have little festivals that happen. So.
Oh, I love doing the festivals. That's always fun, creating your own little festivals. what I have to remember is keeping up with them, so that I can incorporate them in later books and remember them or what have you. So I love that. Okay, and Cecil Love, what are the secret ingredients that go into your special flavor of romance, of small
Well, I
town?
love a good secret. And I do, I love family, tradition. Southern culinary is a big thing for me to feature. And then, as Nan said, the town, highlighting, certain elements of the town, a specific meeting place, or the importance that this place had and how it impacted the town. But there's always friendship, definitely, some type of sisterhood or brotherhood. And I absolutely love gossipy town folks.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah. And I would say for me, friendship is always a big part of it. There's always some kind of, friendship and family. Family is huge. There's always some kind of complicated family connections. Career business actually is always a big part for me. Diversity, of course. And definitely sexy times. It's definitely going to be sexy times and humor for sure. So, okay. So, and going on talking about that, we're going to go into the next question is, if your small town romance was a dish, how spicy would it be? So, Cecila, we'll start with you. How spicy would your dish be if your romance was a dish?
You need a sip of
And we're
sweet.
gonna go on a 5. Let's go on to be uniform. Let's go on a 5 scale.
Oh, 1 on 5.
A 1 to 5. Yeah.
I'd say probably maybe a 3.5.
I can see that because I did read it, so I can see that. Okay, I can agree. Okay.
Because it's definitely more tame than the other suspense and paranormal, but I would say 3.5.
Okay, fair. And Nan, if your small town romance was a dish, how spicy would it be?
It's like mashed potatoes spicy. 1.5. Unfortunately, these people are getting it on, but you don't get to see it. So not very graphic, very definitely sweet small town romance.
Hey, and that's the thing I love, that there's room for everything. So
Mhm.
I love that, and that's where we traditionally have always seen it, is on the sweeter side. So now we're just starting to see more open door. And Annie, what about you? How spicy would your dish be?
My dish would be a dessert. I think lemon. I'm gonna go with a lemon meringue pie. And what did Nan say? 0.5? I'm about a
1.5.
1.5. I'm about a 0.5. The door closes. But everybody's got to eat dessert. You got to have a good dessert.
You gotta have dessert. And Cheryl, what about you?
Pour the hot sauce, child. I'm about a 4. I like to make it look. I'm trying to get a 4.5. And it was
Okay.
it was a 4 because they were like, well, like, it's just because they're in a small town doesn't mean they're not getting it in.
Right.
So,
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
so
Yes.
4.
Thank you.
4. Book 1 was probably like about, like right under 4. But book 2 said, okay, you know what? We're about to be all the way to 4. And then who knows what's going to happen in the book that I'm writing now. I might just try to kick it to 4.5 and see what we can get through.
Yes. I hear you on that. And so for me, well, first of all, there's the whole question. Okay, so Nan keeps mentioning how the town should be a character, and definitely that is a big part of small town romance for sure, for sure. And I remember when I first pitched to write what is the Holly Grove Island series or whatever, and I was asked the question, do I write small town romance or do I write contemporary romance set in a small town? And at first I didn't see a difference there, but then the more I kind of immersed myself in small town, that's when I realized, okay, that whole thing about the town being a character and all that kind of feel. But where I disagree with was feeling that I knew that was going to happen. What I disagreed with was this idea that it had to be, super sweet.
Yes.
That it couldn't be sexier. So that, so even though some of the other stuff I write is considered contemporary romance, it's still set in a small town, and it has that feel. It has that feel of a small town and those kind of characters and stuff. But in terms of the heat level, we're writing the first book, we talked about it being a lower heat level than what I normally write.
Right.
And I'm like, okay. Well, when I was trying to do it, I kept getting like stuck. And so then I was just like, okay, let me just write what I'm going to write, and then they can dim it down. Well, they didn't. And then they marketed it as sexy small town. Well, then I was a little irritated because like if you call it a sexy small town, like I can give you sexy small town because that wasn't it.
That wasn't it.
That was
well,
like
if you think about it, Reese, it was. If you think about it,
like
because in the context of how it's always been perceived,
yeah,
then what you wrote was sexy because the door was open, wasn't it?
The problem I had is like, because like it wasn't until like toward the end that I really was like, okay, well, let me just do what I do, and then we can dim it down, right? So it was like a scene and a half toward the end. Whereas I'm like, had I known I could go, they were going to keep it, I would have just kept it that way all the way through. So when I did the next book, I'm like, okay, we marketing this the sexy small town. I'm going to give you sexy small town. So yeah, that one is a lot hotter. And there were conversations and there were debates about that. And that was kind of the same conversation with me. Cheryl was like, yeah, they're definitely getting it in still.
Because everybody has kids in this town, so somebody's doing something.
Exactly. They can have all these other things and still be small towns. So yeah. So I would say for me, it's definitely that first book in the series is probably like 2.5, but the second one is a 4 for sure. 4 for sure. So let me address a few a few of the comments here. Diane said, Nan, I love books that are set on the water. I do too. I also like visiting the water. Marilyn said, love stories on the water are so romantic. I agree with that. I love that. And that I love all of the ingredients that go into the romantic towns. Marilyn said, I like the hot sauce. Yeah. For sure. Definitely. And so, I definitely feel like we're starting to see more books marketed as small town that are a little sexier than what you typically think of as small town. So from, whether you're a person who wants a sweeter romance like Annie and Nan, or you want something a little bit hotter, I feel like there's a little bit of everything available for readers and stuff now. And we're definitely going to get into some of that and with some recommendations. So my next question to you all is, trends come and go in this industry. We've seen it, whether it's this thing is hot and everybody's, writing reverse harem or whatever. And now it's something else, but small town is consistently popular. Why do you believe that is? And I'm going to start with Annie on this one.
Well, I just think it's so familiar. I think people are, they have grown up on the soap operas or the Hallmark Channel. And so opening up a small town, you kind of know what you're going to get and you know what to expect. And so there's something very comforting and calming about it. Feels like coming home almost in a way, because you kind of recognize those characters, like that town gossip. You actually know them in real life, and the grandma motherly figure. And for me, I think it's like coming home when you open one. You kind of know what you're getting.
Yeah, I love that.
Even if it's going to be spicy. Like, I like to read it all. Sweet, spicy, it doesn't matter. They're all going to have that coming home feel to them.
Yes, I love that. And Cheryl, what about you? Why do you think that's
have a ditto right on over here with Annie? Because I think it's, like you said, that sense of community, that sense of home is what, and like you said, because if you watch all of the Hallmark movies, you watch the soap operas, they kind of have the same formula, no matter which channel it's on, what name it was, it's daytime, nighttime, you always know what you're going to get. And I think people, like she said, I think people like knowing that they're going to get that small time. They know it's going to end up with this moment somewhere in there.
Yeah, I love that. And Nan,
I think I'm right on board with Annie and Cheryl. It is about the whole coming home sort of thing, and I think people come to series small town romance because they fall in love with the town, and I've had so many people write me and say, I want to live in River's Edge. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
I do. It's in my head. So, I think that there's that familiarity, and, they know that when they get one of my books, they're going to end up at Max Diner sometime, or they're going to end up on the River Walk, or they're going to be, looking out at the river. And so I think that familiarity is also a really big element for small town romance. And when it's serialized, it becomes even more of a homecoming, I think.
Yeah. That is like one of the best reader comments, when people say they wish they could live in your town.
I
love that.
I love it when people tell me that. It just makes me so happy.
Love it. And Sheryl, why do you think that small town romance is a perennial favorite?
So everything that everybody else just said, I'll just add that I think that they're very relatable. In a small town, it feels natural, right? You're in a big city, the hustle and the bustle. You got to go here. You're going into, a 2-story grocery store. You're downtown. You got to parallel park your car. Whereas in a small town romance, or in a small town, it's like, you park your car in the garage, you go easily to the grocery store, you see people in the grocery store, you go back to it just feels relatable. People can relate to it more. We've been to small towns. We enjoy them when we visit them. We have families who live in them. And so I just think it's something that, it's the homecoming element. But I think it's just very relatable. People can always grasp living in a place that has pretty trees and grass, and everybody just doing the natural things that neighbors and people do in a town.
Yeah. And something Annie mentioned earlier was like that feeling of them knowing, like the characters, like the town gossip or the busybody or whatever, that kind of familiarity with that and places and all of that definitely makes it kind of like a comfort read,
I agree.
And especially if it's a town that you've been to before and you liked it, that you get to go back and see the characters that were there before. So now let's talk about your specific books. Let's start with you, Sheryl. Tell us a little bit about your latest or upcoming release and give us a little of the story behind the story on the characters and the premise of the story.
Oh, okay, cool. So my latest release was a Lakeside Reunion. It came out back in April. It was a small town, Mount Dora, Florida. It is a story that features a second romance, a debutante ball, Southern culture, and it's basically just a feel-good story where you see family overcome their drama, overcome their prejudices. You learn about just different aspects of Florida culture as well as Black history. And I know that was one of the things that I got so much. I didn't even really realize it when I wrote the book, but so many people said, oh my God, like the history, I learned so much. And I think, as a woman of color, author of color, I know it's always, own voices and what does that mean, right? And it means different things, but it explores our culture. And so with the Lakeside Reunion, we're in this beautiful lakeside town, and you have these two characters. One is from the Black elite, the other is from the wrong side of town. But 10 years later, he's just made something of himself, and there's no denying that their attraction is still there. So we come back to the story 10 years after they were pulled away from each other, and it's a burning attraction that ain't going nowhere. And they act on it, and they find redemption through each other's family secrets. And it's just a great story. And I'm excited because the second book in that series, so I just turned the edits in for that today. And so we get to see Chris and Kara's journey next in Unexpectedly Yours. So I'm excited about that one. It's going to be a enemies to friends or rivals to friends type of situation. So very excited about it.
I love that you said it's a great story. I'm telling you, I've been starting to say that because I think a lot of times as authors or whatever, and as women, we're hesitant to say that about our own book, right? But it is a great story. I read and as a matter of fact, I'm mad at myself because I meant to hold up my copy. Did you hold up your copy?
No, but I can get it if you need me to.
But so I meant to hold up my copy because I have read it and I love the story and it is a great story and I love all those elements that you just talked about in terms of like the history and stuff about the couple and it's just and the secrets kind of blew me away. So if y'all have not read A Lakeside Reunion by Cece Love yet, definitely make sure you do that. It is gonna be in the link in the description. If the direct link is not to the book, it's definitely in that link list of books by the guests of the show. I highly recommend it. I have read that book and I absolutely loved it. So, and so let's go next to Nan. Tell us a little bit about the story behind the story on your either latest release or upcoming story.
Oh, in 2023, I released 3 books, The Weaver Sisters, and they're identical triplets. And their family owns a marina on the river. And so each book is one of the sister stories. And the last one just came out in October, and it's Christmas in River's Edge, and it's a Christmas romance, a little Hallmark Christmas romance. And it's about Jenny Weaver, who has re-met an old friend, a guy who tutored her in high school, and he was kind of a big nerd, and he is back 15 years later and not one bit nerdy. And he kind of has this whole Indiana Jones thing going because he's an archaeologist and he teaches at William and Mary. But he comes back to town for the reunion and he falls in love with Jenny all over again. And she's divorced and she has a little 8-year-old boy. And so their story is, a single mom trying to find her way, and she's dealing with an alcoholic ex-husband who's making life hard for her. And then this amazing man that she only knew as just the guy who helped her with history in high school comes back into her life, and they fall in love and have a happily ever after. And the other 2 sisters, the relationship between the 3 sisters, because they're triplets, is very close, and so that plays a really big part in all 3 stories. So that's the latest one, and I've got a new River's Edge series coming out in 2024 and 25, 4 new books, so it'll make 14 books in River's Edge.
Nice, very nice. Congrats.
I hope that Julie will just keep letting me write in River's Edge because I'm having a ball. So.
I love it. And Sheryl, either tell us about latest release or upcoming release. Give us a little bit of the story behind the story on it.
Okay, my latest release is book 2 in my Supper Cup series, A Perfect Pairing. Book 1 was A Table for Two. This book, A Perfect Pairing, features it's a second chance romance. They were high school sweethearts. She sort of broke his heart, kind of. He moves back to town from, New York looking for a change, and they end up having to work together. So it was not all roses to begin with. And yes, she calls him out because she's very direct, and she actually called him a butthead. So, it's and they straightened it out though, because they, they still had to get through the whole misunderstanding. As teenagers, how we mess up, you don't do it. So it was kind of fun watching them not try to fall for each other, and we're still going to fall anyway. So
that's always so fun. Always so much fun.
Yeah,
and Annie, tell us either about your latest release or upcoming release. Give us a little bit of the story behind the story on the book.
So my latest release is Through the Snow Globe, and I have a copy right here.
Very good.
So it's my first time loop story, but it's in a small town, the town of Snowhaven. And my heroine is Diana, and she's kind of stuck in the same day, repeating the worst day of her life, essentially, over and over again. It's the day that her fiance, Linus, who owns a toy store in the small town, which was fun because I've never done a toy store. Every small town should have a toy store. He rides his bike every day, and he rides his bike to work every day, and he gets hit by a delivery truck. It happens at Christmas. And so he winds up going in a coma, and so the day she's repeating is the day that he gets hit by a delivery truck. So through the process, she's trying to stop him from being hit by the truck, and she has various ways of stopping him. And she kind of has it's one of my first books where I've gotten a lot of reader comments where they're like, I hated her in the beginning because she's kind of a cold character. She's kind of shut down, guarded, not very likable. And she kind of evolves as the days repeat, and she kind of lets her walls down, and It was a lot of fun to write. Still had all those small town elements. She's a home health person because I do work in the medical environment. So I got to bring in all those small town characters as her patients. So she would go to their house and treat the different characters that I would normally put in a small town. So that's what is my new release. And then my next one comes out with Forever in the spring. And that will be a new book, a new series, my Bloom series.
Oh, that sounds cute.
So the snow globe is very Groundhog Day.
Yeah, yeah.
I love that movie. So I think that's so cool.
Yeah, I didn't know what I was getting into because I've never done a time loop. Time loops are kind of hard.
I can imagine.
But they're fun. Yeah.
Yes, I love that. That sounds like a lot of fun. So there was a question that was asked earlier that I want to come back to, and let me see. I'm going to go to that one next. But first, I'm going to have this question. Was there a character that came to you, but you weren't able to add them, but place them in a different book? And anyone can answer that. If there was a person maybe that you had that you came up with this character, or they had to get cut or whatever, and then you put them in another book.
No.
Or is it just more the typical? They were in this book as a side character, and then they got their own book later.
Yeah, kind of what you said, the second one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's my sisterhood group, so they get to get their story so far.
Yeah, I know personally, I can't think of a time that I've necessarily thought of a character and said, okay, I can't put them, because if anything, I'm gonna put them in some small way,
Mm-hmm.
Like in the first book in the Holly Grove Island series, I knew pretty much. Just as writing that book, I got the feeling of who was going to be the love interest for the best friend Sinclair, and so even though I couldn't think of a way to put him on the page.
Mm-hmm.
They had conversation. He and his cousin had a kind of a lengthy conversation, enough of a conversation where you got to know a little bit about him, and you could definitely tell that there was something happening between him and the woman who was going to be, his love interest later. But I can't think of a time.
Yeah, and I will say too, like for most of us, if it's a series, we typically will know the other characters that need to find a way in some kind of way, and so it's almost like what Reese said. Maybe it's a little bit of a conversation, so you can introduce them in the second book or something along those lines. But I feel like everybody who we want to be there usually ends up there, and then the people who we know need to be there later, they kind of make a little cameo or something like that.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes, I would definitely say that. So that's that question. And so the next question that Diane has takes me into the question that I was going to ask you all. And so it's, what small town romances are you reading now? So I'll start with that one before we go into the larger question of Rex. What small town romances are you reading now? And anybody can answer that as well.
Well, I'm reading the arc for Sierra London. It's Fake It Till You Make It.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah, it's set in West Virginia. It features a veterinarian, somewhat of a rambunctious 20-year-old something, so to speak. So I actually just started it, and I plan to have it done hopefully by Friday, because I don't do Black Friday shopping. So I plan to have it done sometime around then, but that's what I'm reading right now.
Awesome. Annie, were you saying something?
Nope. I've been on deadline, so I honestly don't have anything open right now because
no reading.
I've had the worst edits. The summer turned into the fall. My edits have been just crazy. But I have a lot of authors that I love to read for small town. I love Rayanne Thane, Brenda Novak. I've read yours, Reese, and I've read Cheryl's. I think I blurbed you, Cheryl, for a table for two. Yeah,
she is so sweet. Thank you.
But I need to get some of C. Shilove's, because I really think that sounds really good, and some of Nan's. So I've got some to read on my list after I get out of these edits.
Yes, that is the thing when you're like,
Yes.
under the thumbnail of the edits, you can't read. That is one of the most freeing things that I've been experiencing since I don't have any deadlines that I'm under. This not self-imposed right now. Is I have been reading. I have been reading all sorts of books. Now I am crap at remembering names of titles of books and names of authors, but I have been doing a lot more reading of late. So anyone else, is there some small town that you're reading right now, or just tell us period? So Annie already told us, recommended some people. Nan, who are some of your folks you would recommend
Well,
as small town?
I'm so incredibly lucky because I'm also a copy editor. And so I get to read people's books, months before they come out. And I copy edit for Avon and Kensington and Julie and St. Martin's. And so I have a lot of fun reading books. And Julie does a lot of small town series. And Lori Beach writes sweet small town romance. And her Crickley Creek series, I got to copy edit it, and it was just wonderful. She's got the most amazing voice. Jeannie Moon, her Compass Cove series from Julie is amazing. And Kira Jacobs, who's another Indiana author, she has Bourbon Falls. It's a fun town, a really cool place. And Mia Heinzelman has written the Love and Games series.
Yeah.
And they are so much fun. I got to copy edit those too. I'm spoiled because I get to read and I get paid to do it. It's amazing. So it's just been so much fun discovering all these new readers, all these new small towns. Mia she just has the most amazing voice. She's so much fun to read. So, I would say any small town book from Julie, you're going to win.
I love that. And way to represent. And Sheryl, tell us small town authors that you recommend.
I haven't read anything as of late because, like Annie, deadlines have been my life since they've been my life this whole year. So I have not read a whole lot. I mean, I started Brenda Jackson's Catalina Cole.
Oh, I know, that's so good.
Joy Avery's Honey Hill has one, and Sean D. Young has her series, and I cannot remember the name of the something creek. I can't remember. It starts with a C, but Sean D. Young has one too. So those are parts of my recommendations so far.
Okay. And did I miss anybody? Chilove, did you go as far as recs of small town romance?
So there is one after I finish this arc I plan to read. It's In a Jam by Kate Canterbury. It's a marriage of convenience set in Rhode Island. And I'm really excited about that because I don't always get to see some of those New England towns. And that's one of my favorite places. So super excited about that. But then I will say I love Brenda Jackson. She has just a ton of books that are set in small towns. Rochelle Allers, Nancy Thayer.
Yes.
So I love those. And a few of you are on the panel. So I love your books as well. So yes, so I would those are just some recommendations, but I'm super excited to read this In a Jam. That's a marriage of convenience. She has to go to the town, inherit the farm, but she has to marry somebody within the year. So I'm super excited to read that book.
I love a good modern marriage of convenience.
Right.
Oh, that's gonna be like, wow.
Very nice, very nice. Okay, so lots of authors have been mentioned, and like I said, there's a link in the show description that will take you first of all to the authors on the panel's books, small town romance books, and then there's another link that's a wider recommendation list. So some of the other folks, Beverly Jenkins has a small town romances, the Blessing series. And then Sanithia Williams has her Jackson Falls series. Kathy Douglas writes small town. She's a Black author, writes small town, and it's sweet as well as closed door as well. Zoe York has some hot small town. She's a Canadian author, has hot small town romances. Brighton Walsh does as well. And so that's just a few names. And so not only is it just a few names, but it gives you a whole lot of different flavors of romance from Andy's Dessert to burn your face off, Sheryl Lister. So whatever you're looking for, there's definitely that. And thank you, Shamika says L writes Wellspring series.
Wellspring,
I
that's
have
right.
that
That's
entire series.
right.
As a matter of fact, I think it's all
And let me tell you where I have hot sauce. Hers is what is it? Serrano chili. What is it? That little, that little teeny red one. That would be L right. Okay.
So yes. And let me see. Yeah. And Veronica says, I love Table for Two and A Perfect Pairing. They were
Thank
great
you, Veronica.
reads. So that's awesome.
So if I can finish book 3, it'll be it's called A Promise of Forever. So
I love it. And Pamela Sessions says small town romance pulls you in. As a reader, I love small town romance, especially Christmas ones. So very nice. And Marilyn says, yes, Christmas love and summertime love is sweet. So we like that. Shamika says, I live Firefly Lake. It's my fake home.
Girl, I'm trying to go there myself. Right now, I need to go there for a retreat so I can write.
And Shamika asked the question, Reese, are you going back to Holly Grove Island again? Actually, before we came on the air, I was talking to the ladies about the fact that I have turned in that 3rd book for Holly Grove Island months ago. So it's supposed to come out in the next year. I will find out if that has changed at all. But yes, we are definitely going to get M and Nick's love story. They're the best friends. She's the younger sister of the first hero from the first book. And so yeah, their story is written and ready to be edited and ready to go. So definitely going back to Holly Grove Island at least one more time. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to visiting all the old friends there and stuff and catching up on her and seeing Mama May again, because I love Mama May.
They're gonna have to hurry up, because I read that book going to Europe in late July, so that's a long time I got to wait for the next.
I will pass your words on.
Right. She said that I need to have my books.
Okay,
right.
I said this.
What you love is
personal.
Right.
Hey, how are you?
So yeah, Ms. Pastor says, hey, Miss Cheryl. And another great question. What are some of your favorite tropes that you like to see or write in small town romances? That's a great question. Thank you for that question. So Cisha Love, let's start with you. What are some of your favorite tropes that you like to see in small town romance?
I love reunions, second chance romances, where people come back after being gone 10, 15 years. It sounds like a long time when you say it, but then like when you kind of put it together, it's really not a long time. So I do like second chance romances. I like to see the diversity of when we have class, when we have a class system where it's one from a wealthy class, one from a not so hot class. And I absolutely love Marriage of Conveniences, which is why I'm so intrigued to read this other one, because I don't think I've seen it in a small town romance. I've heard that there are some, but I have not seen it. But I hear that they're always really cool because there's always these attachments and agreements that have to happen. And I think that's really interesting in a small town because we know that they're full of, gossip. We know that everybody kind of knows what's going on. You got the nosy neighbors. So I'm really excited to see that. But those are some of the tropes that I would like to see in small town romance.
Nice. And Nan, what about you? What are some of your favorite tropes?
Wow. I love friends to lovers a lot. And because I just think that's fun to write. Watching them, build that relationship. I like marriages of convenience. I kind of did one of those with my book, The Baby Contract. They got married because she wanted a baby and he wanted a family. And they kind of, fell in love after they got married. And I like second chances. I love seeing people discover one another again. That's a treat.
Yeah, it's a good list. And Annie?
Well, I like all of those. I really like single dad for some reason. I like bring the kids in. I like single mom, but I really like single dad. Something about a hot dad taking care of kids with the doors closed, of course. But I really like second chance. That always comes up for me, and best friends kind of thing. Yeah, I like them all.
Excellent. And Cheryl.
Okay, and before I start, I'm just gonna tell Annie that's all right for the hot dad, single dad. I'll open the door for you. Don't worry, sis. I got it. So I think I do would like to see that. See, now you're putting things in my head, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I need another idea here.
If you write it, send me the arc.
I love the second chance too. I love the second chance. I love the not so friendly to lovers kind of angle. And I like one also that we don't necessarily see, Marriage in Trouble, because in small town everything's all sweet and everything is all so.
I didn't think about that one. That's a good one.
I feel like that's one we don't see as much in romance. Period.
Idea, Cheryl.
Next year, it's coming next year. It'll be next year.
Yeah, I feel like Marriage in Trouble is one we don't see as much in romance. Period. But I have seen in the last couple of days, I've seen maybe 2 or 3 people mention that they like that trope, and I thought that was
Kennedy Ryan's latest book was essentially, I guess you would term it as a marriage in trouble kind of situation. Before I Let Go, it was
were they? I thought they were divorced.
They were divorced.
Well, yeah, marriage in trouble, kind of get back together. Yeah.
No, this is a married couple, and they just having trouble.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, that's interesting. Okay, so for me, I don't have a one. I have a top 5, and it goes across whatever. And so, it's friends to lovers, enemies to lovers, second chance romance, forced proximity, and little best friends, little younger sibling. Those are my top 5. Okay. But I never thought I would write a modern marriage of convenience, but I've written 2, and I love them both. I love them both so much. And one is like, well, whatever. Anyway, so yeah, Waking Up Married and just a little married are my 2 marriage of convenience ones. Yeah. Okay, so what can we expect next from each one of you? And we're gonna start with Cheryl this time. What can we expect from you next?
As I said, next year, probably the end of next year, will be book 3 of the Supper Club series, and that's called A Promise of Forever. And as soon as I finish the book, get it turned in, and we can get some edits, and yeah, it'll be ready for you. But in the immediate future, the next thing coming for me will be my debut women's fiction book, and it's called No Reservations, and it's chronicling the lives of 3 best friends as they navigate the loss of one of their friends and try to take this girls' trip that they've been putting off for years. So coming January 9th.
And also,
y'all hop on my page right now and pre-order. Y'all, I see that I have a pre-order giveaway going on.
I love it. And also tell people where they can connect with you online.
And you can find me. My website is www.sheryllister.com. SHERYLLISTER.com. Or you can look me up on Facebook. It's author Sheryl Lister. Instagram is Sheryl Lister. Yeah, that's it. Facebook, everywhere. That's where I'm at.
Okay. And Nan, tell us what we can expect from you next and where we can connect with you online.
My new series, The Walker Family, River's Edge. The first book comes out in April. It's called Make You Mine. I didn't title it, so. The second one, I think, comes out in August, and that's Make It Real. And then there's 2 more in 2025 coming out in that series. And you can find me at my website, just like Cheryl. Everything's my name, Nan Reinhardt, NanReinhardt. That's my website, nanreinhardt.com. And I'm at Nan Reinhardt everywhere on social media. So I would love to connect with readers. It's so much fun. And I do, at the moment, have a fresh fiction contest going on that I will send you the link for. So you can put it in the show notes.
You can actually put it in the underneath the show on YouTube so that anybody who's coming can see it in the comments. That would be great.
I will do that. It goes through the 15th
Or
of
you can,
December.
and you can drop it also in the comments right here for everybody who's here right now. So and next, let me ask Annie, what do you have coming up next, and where can we connect with you online?
I have a new series coming from Forever next year. It's my Bloom series. The first book is called The Finders Keepers Library. I did title that one.
Nice.
And then I have another women's fiction with magical elements, kind of in line with my Snow Globe story. It's a remake of Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, except instead of pants, they're exchanging a charm bracelet. And that one's called The Charmed Friends of Trove Isle. So that's what I have next year, and readers can find me at Annie Rains Books. So just my name and books.
I love it. Very nice, very nice. And Chilove, tell us first what we can expect from you next, and then where we can connect with you online.
Sure. So up next, it will be book 2 in the Shores of Doris series titled Unexpectedly Yours. It is a rivals to lovers story. It's picking up where the other one left off. So I'm hoping that everyone will enjoy that story as well. And I don't know the date yet because it's been going back and forth with some changes. So hopefully I should know the final date on that. And then in terms of where you can find me, cshilove.com is my website. And then I'm on Instagram as cshilove as well.
Very nice. So let me, before I say goodbye, let me just check through here and just see if there's any other comments that we want to address. Pamela also said, Table 2 and Perfect Pairing were beautiful. She read them and loved them.
Thank you, Pamela.
And Sheryl, you have another small town book closer to you set in Blackmont. Would you revisit?
Girl, if I can get 5 minutes, I already have a romantic suspense series that will end up there. It probably won't start there, but all of the books will end someplace in Blackmont. So, and there will be some Blackmont if I can ever get, yes.
Time is a thing, right? We have no shortage of ideas. I've been keeping ideas for years. Like, I'm finally working on a proposal. I started this proposal 10 years ago. You know, and when I went to work on it, the first thing it says is she opened a flip phone. I'm like, crap.
No, you can leave it there. You can leave it because Samsung, you know, we have our Z Flips now. You can just go and leave it.
And I thought about that because I really want her to flip the phone open because I want her like to mindlessly flip the phone open.
Z Flip, girl,
and not realize the person who it is. So maybe, because like at this point, flips have come back around, right?
Yes, I have one, a Z Flip. Just give her a Z Flip and
okay. Thank goodness. Thank you. I waited just long enough for it to go out and come back.
Come back in. Exactly. You got this.
I love it. So Diane says, Happy Thanksgiving. And thank you so much, Teresa. I am thankful for you. We appreciate you. And we appreciate all of you for being here and hanging out with us this evening. So thank you for being here with all of us. Like I said, all of the ladies who are here, all the authors who are here, you'll find their website links. You didn't even have to memorize them or anything because they're right in the description of the show. So you can go and find each of their websites, and then you also can go to that list that there's one for the guests of the show. You can see all of their books and pick those up, and then there's one for the recommendations that'll continually be updated. So at any point, if you feel like you want to delve into some flavor of small town, you can always go back to that list and refer to it. So I want to thank again Annie Rains, Nan Reinhardt, Sheryl Lister, and Chilove for joining us this evening. We're coming up on holiday season, so happy holidays to all of you. And this is going to be like my final show of the season. So I won't see you all until next year. Well, I might end up popping on and doing something. And I'm always on social media. But as far as a formal show, there won't be another one until next year. So definitely I will see you all then. But if you enjoy conversations like this, Shay Baby has the Brown Book series. You can find a link to her show in my list of favorite shows here on my page. So you can check her out. It's Wednesdays at 7 that she has author chats. And in the meantime, while I'm gone, if you haven't seen all of the past 3 seasons of chats with people like Brenda Jackson, Beverly Jenkins, Kennedy Ryan, Talia Hibbert, Kristen Higgins, Naima Simone, and a whole lot of other people, Farrah Rashawn, folks like that, Olivia Day. Then you can definitely go and check some of those past replays out. And I'm always open to recommendations of people that you would like to see me chat with. Now, look, I can't promise you they're going to be on the show because I might ask them and they might not. They might say no. So don't ever think because you might have suggested somebody that they're not on that I didn't ask them. So let me just say that. But I'm open to recommendations of people that you would like to hear from. And again, if you enjoyed today's show, be sure to like, subscribe, and share the show so that other readers can find it as well. And again, if you had my newsletter, don't forget to check out the bonus scenes from the Men for Hire series, and definitely check out the books from all these ladies. I like and adore all of them, and their writing is so good. So you're not going to be disappointed if you read anyone on this panel's small town romances. So definitely do that. And thank y'all so much for being here, and have a good evening. Happy holidays.
Bye. Happy holidays.
Thanks.